This terracing in front of me and also on the other side is purely for structural reasons. There was nothing grown here. This is just to stop landslides and keep the land stable. On the far side is an agricultural region where llamas were kept and slaughtered for meat and skins. And there was also tiering there for agricultural crops. In the background here, this very large hill, the name of which I can't recall. 400 people are allowed to climb that per day now. I'm not even going to try that with my ankle, but it can still be done. This is an example of original terracing created by the Incas for stability, stop landslides and erosion. The Incas had a security system. They had a guard high up on that hill there, and they were able to communicate with the actual main village by means of reflective metal mirrors, and they were able to signal if and when strangers were coming in to the area, or there was any threat. Also, they had a very good method of communicating between villages. They would have staging posts about every 12 kilometres, I think it was, and men, very fit athletic men, would run from one post to another with the message. They didn't have writing, but they had a stick with pieces of coloured rope on it by which they were able to communicate, and they could get a message from one city to another in a remarkably short time with one man sprinting for 12 kilometres and then passing it to another. Now, incidentally, this is what Genghis Khan and the Mongols used, this same type of system, except they used ponies, and they were able to keep their massive empire under wraps and enjoy very good communication by the same sort of method of a rapidly moving horse. In this case, pass the message to the next horse, gone. The Incas left this place because they were fearful the Spanish would come and destroy it like they did other cities in the area. And when they left, they completely evacuated it and blocked off all their tracks. So it was virtually impossible to find, and in fact it remained isolated and unfound for, how long is that, 500 years, nearly. And the whole city actually only existed for less than 100 years. And it was never actually completely finished. Amazing, really. And we have this wonderful heritage today because one man, the last king obviously, had the foresight to evacuate the village, block off all the trails with the hope that they would come back one day. But they never came back because they were completely destroyed by the Spanish. For many tourists coming to Peru, and indeed South America, their visit to Machu Picchu is the high point of their holiday, and it's easy to see why. It's just it's so intact and it's so dramatic. It's just great to. The Incas' ability as stonemasons was really right up there. They created works of the highest standard, and in many of their buildings there was always three windows, and that's to represent the three worlds: the heavens, the world where we live, and the underworld, represented by the condor, the jaguar, and the snake. Most of the walls are built on a slight slope. I believe it's 14 degrees. It doesn't look that much from here, but they were built on a slope to create stability. This is one of many Inca cities, and the king of the day would spend some part of the year travelling from city to city, making sure that the cities were being run properly and law and order was being maintained. He would leave his wives in the main palace at Cusco, and in each city there would be a residence for him and a harem of concubines. So each king just sired hundreds of children, and those children had no right to the throne. It was only the children that his wives bore at the palace in Cusco that had that right. There's a natural water supply here that's been working exactly as intended for over 500 years. It was used only for drinking, nothing else. For clothes and personal washing, one had to walk down to the river below, a journey of about an hour and a half round trip, I believe, and I'm told it was designed that way to keep the population fit and healthy. There was not a water supply for the toilets or for toilet use. Number one's was just a hole in the ground. I'm not sure whether it was even communal. And number two's was a clay pot with layers of soil, number twos, and ash. And when the pot was full, it would be taken to the garden growing area and used as fertiliser. I think that's pretty frowned on today, but it seemed to work pretty well for them. Well, this is Aguas Caliente. This is the feed pipe for the Machu Picchu ancient site. It's a full-on tourist village, and I actually quite like it because it's so ordered and clean, and I haven't seen anything like it in Peru. But there's a very great deal of order and organisation here. The way they get the tourists from here to Machu Picchu and back again, the Machu Picchu and back again is very impressive actually. And there's everything here you want. One interesting thing is Machu Picchu is a fabulous site. It's a really great thing to see. But like all these really well-known international sites, I think Machu Picchu isn't it the 7th wonder of the world or something like that? The interesting thing is the cost. They just ramp it up. I got here the cheapest way possible on top of a really good bike ride, which was great. But the train fare from Hydroelectrica to Aguas Caliente for the locals is less than $1. Now for tourists, it's about $40 Australian. And the tourists do sit in a separate carriage, that's true, but that's the only difference. And it's like that pretty much right through here. Food and grog, very much more expensive. Accommodation is only about double, but it is off season. But everything here is just so much dearer, and they really get stuck into you. So seeing these great sites, it's all possible and pretty well organised, but boy, your wallet's going to be a lot lighter afterwards. And after travelling through Peru, very cheaply really, you know, less than 50 bucks Aussie a day, and that's with a tank of fuel for over 20 bucks. You come to a place like this, it's a bit of a shock. But it's all great. Had a great time at Machu Picchu, leaving tomorrow to continue the ride.